A recent report in February 2020 stated that 74% of people struggle with a form of substance addiction. Combine that with a rise in anxiety, depression, and traumas and mental illness, we have a recipe for pain. But the effects are not limited to one person. It is said that addiction can affect up to 60 people within an addict circle, which means this may very well be you. So today we're going to learn about addiction, recovery, and tips and tools for living a life of freedom.
Your someday starts today. It's time to explore and test the newest science, methods, and trends for creating a life you love with your host, Tanyamfk. Welcome to My Designed Life.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to My Design Life, where we learn and test the latest science, tips, and tools, strategies for you to create your best life every day. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at My Design Life Show and at Tanyamfk. And if watching videos isn't your thing, head over to our My Design Life Show podcast to catch the audio. I'm Tanyamfk, and I am so glad that you are here. Now, my guest today was trapped in addiction for over 4 decades, choosing over his family, friends, and himself. Now substance-free and sober, he retired from a 36-year career in law enforcement and returned to college to get certified in chemical dependency counseling, intervention, recovery, sober companion, and safe transport, as well as to become a nationally certified addiction counselor. His union experience made him uniquely qualified to work in business organizations to get answers and attainable solutions when substance abuse and dependence had gained a stronghold with their leaders or employees, as well as working on one-to-one settings. He connects those to appropriate next steps, coaching, maintenance, and aftercare within their own circles and communities. Here today to discuss addiction, recovery, and freedom, please welcome Mr. Leo Petrilli. Hi, Leo.
Hi, Tanya. Thank you for having me along. I appreciate it very much.
Now, I'm really excited. I know addiction is not something that we usually associate with a show that's looking at living your best life, but the statistics are there. As we just learned, 1 in 5 people are dealing with addiction in one way or another. So really, to live our best life, it sounds like we need some awareness and tools to keep ourselves on the right road. So why are we here as a society? Like, what are we doing wrong? Can you shed some light on how we get here?
Part of my journey, some things happened in my youth, not as an excuse. Genetically, it's in me, and I made poor choices. As you said, I chose alcohol over my family. I did that, and it's taken me these 9 years of doing everything I can to get my children kind of back in my life, kind of thing. Because when you go into a recovery, basically what I'm saying to you is, look, I'm not going to hurt you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you can love me, you can trust me, and I'm going to be okay. And so will you. And so I can't take back past. I can only account for what's here right now. And so long as I do this, I have everything in my life. If I don't do this, it all goes away quickly. I used to go to AA meetings, and I had a sponsor there. He was a really cool guy. His name was Crawford, and he was a California surfer kind of dude. You know what I mean?
I'm from California, so I'm
so maybe you know him, right? At AA, 1-year anniversaries are really something that doesn't happen a lot. More at NA, and I don't know why, but at NA, they give out key tags, and 6 months, 5 months, 4 months, people get up. At AA, not so much. They give out coins, not so much. So getting a year is a big deal. And Crawford got a year, So as soon as I got that, I'm sorry, he was talking, and as soon as he was talking, he got in his share. He said he was addicted to alcohol for most of his life, and he said, one morning it was 3:30 in the morning, and there I was watching TV, and this commercial come on and said, "You too can be a pharmacist." And he's like, "There's a good idea." And he became a pillhead. So I said, okay, this guy's messed up enough. I would like him to be my sponsor. So he was my sponsor, and things are going quite well, actually. So at about 6 months in time, he texts me on the phone, "Sober here." and I don't know what that means. And I'm texting him back and I'm calling him back. What's going on? Are you okay? Nothing. So Sunday we go, our meeting's at 7 o'clock, 6:30, I'm in the parking lot. He pulls up and he goes, "Hey, Leo, you okay?" I go, "Get over here." And he comes over, "What's going on? Are you okay?" I said, "I'm okay." I said, "What was that?" And he says, "What do you mean?" I said, what was that sober here? Were you at the parking lot of the liquor store? Were you walking around with a bottle in your hand? Or were you in the bar drinking? What the hell was that? And he said, No. That's how we told each other I'm okay. Sober here. So that is my daily commitment. Because if I got that, I got everything. If I don't have that, I don't have anything.
Yeah. Well, and there's so many, I mean, just thinking of the statistics that we were talking about, there's, like we were saying with the anxieties, the traumas, the things that lead us here, like you were saying, there for you, there was childhood, there was genetics. And I think in a system, in a society that doesn't prioritize mental health, that doesn't prioritize, therapy or working on these kind of issues, it was really, no pun intended, but sobering to see that statistic. I mean, 74% is a large amount. And this was just a report in February 2020. I mean, we're here in April 2020 right now, so we're talking about a couple months ago. That this is not. Your story is very intense, and I hope it can really relate to a lot of people. But this is, I think, not what everyone expects, like we expect it's going to be this like tumultuous deep thing, but the truth is that the substance abuse can happen on all levels. It doesn't have to be where you're in, down in the dumps or in the gutter to see that there's a problem, that there's an addiction, that there's something happening, that there's an abuse of alcohol or something like that. And so it was interesting for me just to see those numbers, and then to go further to say, not only are we talking about the people who are struggling with the actual addictions, but then the people who it's affecting around us. So this is a much bigger issue, than I think people want to look at or admit or think that they're even dealing with. I know I had done some work in the wellness sector with lawyers, and the reason was because the statistics were coming up about substance abuse and suicide rates within lawyers. And so we're looking at a profession that we normally besides maybe some of the other stigmas and stereotypes, but we're looking at with like success, maybe driving nice cars and fast-paced life, not in maybe abuse and suicide rates. They're thinking, well, these guys got great careers or whatnot. And so I think it was just interesting to bring up, as this show is about designing your best life, it was interesting to bring a concept of addiction in, but I really wanted to hit the nail in with people to go, this is everyone's issue. It affects all of us really in one way or another. And so for you to be here, I'm just really excited that, you've been in the extreme of it. You've been in that case where you have lost things, you've been down a rough road. And not only to come back into sobriety, but to now be like an instrument to work with other people and to bring them out of it. And I know for myself in my, I know I have an addict in my family. And so I have absolutely no patience. To be honest, and that what you must do and the tools you must have to work with these people who are in a broken place. I would just love, I guess, to maybe learn some of those tools that some of us who aren't, pendency counselors and those, like what wisdom can you pass on to us to either catch our own substance abuse, maybe that we're not aware of, that because it's not manifesting in this extreme situation that you've had, right? So we're like, and that may be a justification, well, I'm still making it to work, I still got my family around, so we don't see it. So maybe we'll start there. What are some of those things that help us become aware that there may be a problem?
Those of us, I'm a skilled liar, very skilled liar. I'm competent, I'm capable, and I'm trustworthy to a point because I have to be, because I have to lead that other life. So I'm functioning, very functioning. And for a lot of us, being at work is really important. 40% of our social life is at work, and being at work is important because I get to do other things and not dwell on my past. Given what's going on today, you know, first responders have got all that trauma going on in front of them, the nurses, the fire, EMS, the police. Bless their hearts, bless their hearts. Like this is just got to be overwhelming at a lot of times, you know. And so you go to a recovery program, and this is important. So I'm gonna talk for a couple of minutes, if that's okay. I don't want to hog the conversation.
No, please. You're the expert here, please.
It's important to know that addiction, anxiety, depression, suicide is going to increase, not just in the first responder community, but in all segments of life. It simply has to. You know, alcohol sales are up, medical marijuana sales are up for a reason. It's because people are at home. And if I can't do my job, I'm going to do something else. And that's what's going on right now. When you go to a recovery program, and I suggest a 90-day, not a 21 scratches the surface. I suggest a 90-day, because this is what happens in a program. If I could share for a moment. I'm in a circle with a bunch of other guys. Ladies go with ladies, at least the place I went to. Ladies with ladies, men with men. I'm in a circle with a bunch of guys, and there's a group leader there. Okay, so say you were my group leader. You are going to help me with topics to get me to discuss some of the pain that I carry inside of me. The distance between, you know, my head and my heart is only a foot, but for people like us, it's a mile. They don't talk. So I have to find a way, with the help of others, to get this to talk and communicate, which means I have to find a way to unpack what I have in here, because it's like a bowling ball. Nothing is going to get in. You know, I wouldn't let anybody near me. You come near me, I smash you. Nothing touches me, nothing. And so to be able to trust somebody, I had to be able to listen to somebody else's pain. Because what's magical about recovery is if I can cry for you, I can cry for me. If I can help you unpack some of your stuff, I can help you unpack some of my stuff. So that's an addiction issue, and it's also, for me, anxiety and depression. They're two separate things. You can't go to a psychotherapist and say, you know, I'm drinking too much, and have him or her the skill to give me to get out of that. They got to be separated at some point. And in a recovery home, a good recovery home, they're going to be able to do that. The group leader is going to know when that's a mental illness issue and that when that's a substance abuse issue, because substance is only 5% of the whole problem, really.
Right.
95% is the thinking behind it. And you know, you made a wonderful point in that addiction is a mental illness. Addiction has been in the DSM-5, the Diagnostic and Statistical Management, Psychological, whatever it is. I'm not a doctor.
Okay.
It's been in the DSM-5 since May of 2013. Substance use disorder is a mental illness.
Wow, but that's amazing how recent, actually, that it's just become accepted as that, because I think we saw it as something else and not realizing all the mental stuff that comes behind it. What our, like you said, our thinking, the 95% of our thinking, it's nice that it's been moved in there, but I can't believe it's just 2013. Wow.
But that's a positive, you know.
It is. I just was like, sooner, and we not see this sooner, but yes, at least it's there. And it's and that's only substance use disorder. Right. That's not alcohol. That's not alcohol. Okay.
AUD is not in there yet. I imagine it's going to be pretty soon, you know. Yeah. And with what's going on today, isolation emotions, they're going to be negative. They just are. And this is really a fertile place for the disease to grow. And the disease, it's powerful, it's cunning, it lies in wait. You know, even when you're doing okay, it still comes back for you for a while. I haven't had anything to drink in 9 years. I can look you in the eyes and, you know, promise you that. But that doesn't mean I haven't wanted to. It comes back. Mine came back for me in October last year. I was at a conference and I had just given a talk and I was out of town. And it suddenly the people, oh, there's a host party tonight, free alcohol, and everyone's like, yeah, and I'm like, well, I probably shouldn't go to that, eh? And I didn't, and I went to my room, and I had to go down to the front desk to get something. So as I go downstairs, I get out the elevator, and I'm walking by a room. It was the hospitality room where the event was, and I swear to God, I'm walking down the hall and I hear, hey Leo, and I look, there's nobody there, but there's 2 pitchers of beer there, and there's a big sign that says free.
Oh my gosh. It's almost like the cartoon where they have the bird seed, a free bird seed and the birds there. Like, it's just almost too perfect.
I froze. I looked at it and I thought, no one is going to know. And for about a moment, my disease was there.
Yeah.
Forgetting all the positives, forgetting everything I've gotten back. That was all gone for that moment. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I do things like I do this, not to do that. Okay. Recovery is really easy when you look at it. You either do this or you do that. There's no maybe in between it. So with what's going on in today's world, I'm afraid that it's going to increase.
Right.
And I'm a fan of virtual meetings. I'm a fan of Zoom meetings, but they have to be done correctly, because you as a therapist right now, you're trying to help me. I have to trust you, and I have to trust everybody else that's in that room. And I don't want to. I want to turn that button off and go do what I got to do. That's what I know how to do, and that's what I'm really good at. So unpacking things is going to be done, I think, differently, but so much more importantly, because the demand is going to increase, because the disease is going to increase. My own thoughts, again, I'm no doctor or professional, but I think it's a compelling discussion.
Yeah. Well, and as we talk about the mental health aspect, like you said, not only have lives progressed in such a manner with the speed of technology and, the lack of rest, the lack of the value of our health in general, there's been such a, honorary thing put on to pushing yourself, that, hustle and grind. And then you add into that, like you said, the, depression and anxiety in a normal setting of dealing with that, when we as humans are not engaging in self-care. We're not actively talking about what's going on with us. Especially in a day with social media, everyone's really trying to put their best foot forward. And then people are taking, there's just that rise in mental health issues. And then we throw in a world pandemic on top of everything and go, okay, now let's be isolated. And now, for the good of the world, I absolutely agree with you. It just sounds like a recipe for disaster. And so it starts to make a lot more sense, again, why as a society, we are dealing, and we are seeing numbers like 74% of people dealing with some sort of substance abuse, much higher than we thought, and that it can absolutely get worse. And so again, coming back to the, being in a show talking about designing our best life, I think there are a lot of people who may not see or think that they have an issue. What is that slippery slope, that goes from perhaps the social concept of drinking or whatever, recreational use of something that crosses over? Is that something that you could shed light on? Or
I can share my journey with you, I can't speak for others, and I won't speak for others. My own journey was this: I couldn't wait to be left alone to do what I had to do. Couldn't wait. So my family, my ex-wife, she protected herself, and she had to, because I'm not the same person now that I was back then. Back then, full-blown alcoholic, and so even after we got divorced and everything, I still don't see. We don't know what love is. I didn't know what love is, right? I don't love me. How am I going to love you?
Right.
It ain't going to happen. As best I can, we do, but it just isn't going to happen. So getting I knew where every liquor store was. I knew every bank. I knew that when the bank opened, I knew how much money I had. I knew what I had at home. I knew when holidays were. I knew when this one was closed, I had to go get that one. I knew that if I kept showing up at this one all the time, someone might think. So agenda, again, I'm cunning, I'm smart, I'm a liar. I have to be in order to do what I'm doing, and then still be able to drink, pass out, wake up, coffee, go to work the next day, nobody knows. Go
Was it
home.
obvious to others, like while you're going through that?
No,
So
not at all, not at all, because part of some of them might have had a suspicion, but no one really knew. Like my family didn't really know because, again, I'm smart, I'm a liar, I'm very good at what I do. I would work days. I would get home at 6. I would crush a 40 of vodka for fun. Maybe open up the next one. Maybe get up the next morning at say 5 o'clock. Coffee. Go to the gym.
Right.
2 hours on a treadmill.
Wow.
Right? Sweat that out of me.
Whew.
Work out. Get that out of me. Get to work, and people, they're not going to smell nothing. And people would say, "Oh, you look really tired." I went to the gym.
Yeah.
I went to the gym. People would say to me after, a weekend of 4 or 5 days where I was on a run, and I'd get to, "Oh, you went to the gym today, eh? You went to the gym today, eh?"
Wow.
No, I drank my face off for 4 days.
Right.
And I'm here. So it very much becomes the norm, thinking I got control of this. I know I didn't have any control. I didn't care. Everything had an agenda to get me to where I had to get to. And that's my journey. I'm not saying anybody else's. I'm saying
of course.
That's my journey.
Yeah. And was it like in that time when you were drinking, was it like when people did see you drink, they were just like, "Oh, that's just Leo. He's social." Was it seeming social to people? Like,
no. When I was out with folks, I made it a point to grab a bottle of water.
Oh, okay. So you really were far into it where you were actually actively trying to hide it. So
absolutely.
Okay.
When I was at home, isolated,
right.
and it was just me and my,
Okay.
Because this is an important statement I would like to make. My booze never lied to me. Always told me the truth. I could trust it. In retrospect, it always lied to me. And I should never have been able to trust it. But in that thinking, that's where I was, and I'll make a point, and no scientific evidence behind this, but I've been around this for 9 years. I've been okay for 9 years. And when I first started at that time, out of 10 people, 5 were alcoholic and 5 were addict. That's a good number. Back 9 years. Today, very easily, it's 7 and 3 addict, maybe even 8 and 2 addict. And we've gotten younger. We've gotten much younger.
Yeah.
And the pills and the dope and mother's little helpers and daddy's little helpers, they're so within reach, and the dope's gotten stronger. And I feel like I drank to pass out. I didn't drink and fell asleep. I drank to fade to black. Fade to black. When I could grab a Xanax, I would sedate myself that way as well, So I overdosed also with alcohol thousands and thousands and thousands of times. That's the truth,
Wow.
So I understand the overdoses today because I did it. I did it myself, and I needed help from others and my higher power. I'm on a spiritual journey. Even our talk today, this is all part of his plan, I needed help to unpack everything, and I do this to help others, but I do this to help myself. Sometimes we'll have a one-on-one. I have a one-on-one with a new kid, when a new person who just got there, and that, he's, I don't know, 17, 18, 19 years old, 20 years old. And we'll sit there and we'll talk, and I'll have a one-on-one with him. He's helping me more than I'm helping him. because he's bringing me back to what I am. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So it's I don't know. I'm very, very happy, very, very, very happy in helping others. And, you know, I'm not doing this for a pat on the back or anything like that. I mean, the other thing too is families. If this is going on, okay. Say we were married, you know, say you and I were married for an example, and you were worried about me. You know what? I could tell you I'm going to quit, you know, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not going to happen. I need help to get
Mm-hmm.
out of this. And then I go to a program and say we do really well. Say I do really well for a year or so, but then you start to notice old patterns and old habits, and I slip back into the old habits, into the old ways. You know, if I don't, you go to a recovery home, you get these tools to use to keep you sober and keep you well. You don't use them, they're going to go away. You know, when you
Mm-hmm.
go to a recovery meeting, it's like a good analogy is the gas station. You go to a couple of meetings, you gas up, you got a full tank of gas, you go live life, you know. You miss meetings for like a week or two. I got a quarter tank, I'm okay. I got an eighth of tank, I'm okay. If you don't go in and fill up, you're a paperweight on the side of the road.
Right.
You're
Right.
gonna run out of gas. So just because you know someone goes to a program like um, I got my name on a piece of paper. Okay, I'm 21,735. That's my number. Look at me. I'm good, man. I got 21. This is me. 20. If I don't do what I can to keep that strong, it's going to go away. It has to, because the
Mm.
disease is quiet. The disease lies in wait. And even though I've dealt with a lot of my stuff, it was still there last October.
Right. Right. Well, and
It
it's
was
almost
still.
like I mean, to make it in a less like much calmer concept, it's like exercise, you know. So if you can't exercise a bunch and then go, well, that's going to last me for the next 4 years. It's something you have to keep maintaining if you want to stay in shape. And so you bring up an interesting thing, and as we move towards action and your role as someone who is actively working with people, as a chemical dependency counselor, and all the different kind of titles that you have and actually helping people, I want to get into that, you know, and look at some solutions and maybe steps that we can take if we are finding ourselves with a concern for ourselves. But as you brought up, you know, as a family member, if we see someone falling back in the patterns or even getting them help, do you have any suggestions
Yeah.
for that? Because that seems like a really rough thing. And
Yeah.
again, I'll go back to my own experience with my sister that you know, she is an active alcoholic and substance abuse user. And, you know, I experienced 1 year of sobriety from her. And it was the most amazing year ever. I'd never been so happy to have, she's my half sister, so we didn't grow up together. I'd never been so happy to actually have her in my life. She was such a beautiful, amazing human to have around, and so supportive through a lot of things I was going through at the time. And it lasted for a year. And basically I have not had her since. Once we found that she's using, she's very difficult to deal with. And you know, I had notified her mom, like I said, she's my half sister, because I didn't know what else to do. And there was a level of kind of denial that had gone there for a little bit. And now it's well known, it's known, but I mean, to be honest, it feels like a lost cause. And you know, so you know, I'm not necessarily looking for my own self, because I just truly, it might kind of feel like I have my own life, my things like that. But anyone in my situation, or even something to consider, you know, what do we have anything we can do at that point?
I'm going to show you something. St. Jude,
Yeah.
patron saint of lost causes.
Okay.
I know, because I am one, and I was one. I'm sorry for your pain. What I would suggest to you is, I could never watch Intervention, the TV show. I could never watch it, because that's me. I could never watch it. And now it's my favorite show. Now it's my favorite show because
You're like,
someone will sit down and, you know, I'll say something and then they'll say it and I go, see, told you. Told you, you know, or you know, I'll look in those eyes and say, you know what? I know those eyes. Those are my eyes. I know those eyes, you know. it's a very good show for families to look at a few times, you know, and because what you have to remember is they're in there somewhere, right? I'm in there somewhere, and you got to know when you're talking to the person and when you're talking to the disease. And when you're talking to the disease, I'll tell you anything and everything I got to, you know, they're in there somewhere. So when they say, when the person who's confronted says they're going to go get help, two things go through their mind, I believe. Three. One, forget this, I'm going to go do what I got to do.
Mm-hmm.
Two, I'm caught. Now I got to do everything different. Or three, I'm caught. They know, everybody knows, and I'm tired. I'm tired. For myself, got to be a lot of work, man. It got to be a lot of work. And on September 17th, 2011, I was so drunk and sedated that I fell through a glass table at home.
Wow.
And I ended up in a hospital. And they kind of kept me in a coma for like a week so my brain could kind of relax.
Wow.
You know, and when I came out and was semi-lucid, you know, I had two doctors point out that seriously I was in a lot of trouble. I had a liver, kidney, and heart specialist tell me, you don't have cirrhosis yet, but your enzymes are screaming. You're right there. You keep going, you know, maybe you got a year. And because I fell through the table, they did an MRI. And with the MRI, I had a brain doctor. I can't remember what you call them. I had a brain doctor come up to me and he says, you know, your brain's half the size it should be. And I said, is it because I'm an alcoholic? He goes, yep. And I said, okay, so if I quit drinking, will it get any better? He goes, nope. And I got mad at him. I said, whoa. I said, listen, if I quit drinking right now, is it going to get any better? He goes, no. If you keep going the way you're going, you got 6 months, maybe a year, and you're done. You know, and I supplied you with my MRIs from that time. So that's kind of like my skin in the game, you know, and I went for new ones. Actually, I got this new doctor. She's really cool. You know, I hadn't been to the doctor like 10 years and she's really cool. And she's a taskmaster. You're going to do this and you're going to do this and you're going to do this. And I really like that. And she asked me to get new ones. And I got them February 4th, 2019 last year after I'd gone to a conference and I got them. And there's no change, which is a good thing.
Right. It hasn't gotten worse. Right.
Yeah, which is a good thing, you know. And I don't know, like I said, Tanya, I'm on a spiritual kind of journey, you know.
Yeah.
I met you today, and this is going to go out to a lot of folks, and can't get better on our own. We can't. We can get better. It's doable, but we need help.
So as a family member, you know, is I guess the options are to try to have a conversation about getting some help. And if that doesn't help, if that doesn't manifest to anything, of essentially hope that they get to their rock bottom. Is that really our two choices?
See, a good point. A lot of us, we got to bottom out to figure it out. I got to bottom out. I had to go to the table. That was one of my bottoms, right? To figure it out, right? If you can create my bottom, for me, which is what an interventions kind of does, that might assist with things. Because at some point, again, if you and I were together, you would stop being my wife and you would start being a mom to protect the kids from me. Because now I'm danger. And don't forget, I broke the deal. By doing this, I've broken the deal. So causing someone's bottom might be, but that's just that bottom.
Right.
I might have another bottom.
Right.
I might get out in 6 months, have a DUI, and you know, maybe hurt someone. Maybe that will be my next bottom. I don't know I don't know. I wish I could give you 20 words and it'll fix everything. I can't. I can't. All I can
So
say is,
families are people who are on the outside. I mean, they're like, yeah, there is no magic bullet. But the first step could be at least making that step towards some version of intervention or discussion with them, to see, just to discuss the elephant in the room, right? Just acknowledge, hey, we all know, and let them know, that potentially could be the start of something. But again, of course, there's no guarantees, and it, as I think you've mentioned, a lot of times this is coming from a, I love that thing you said, it's 5% of the abuse and 95% of what, you're thinking and what's going on in your head. So I think if, for maybe somebody who's not in that position you were in, where, you were aware that this was something you were already hiding, and all those things, where perhaps someone's in that social circle and they're having a couple too many in a few nights, but you have a surrounding around you, and almost, society around you that makes it's okay. There's the big joke about, especially now in quarantine, you'll see this meme that's going around on the internet about, the quarantine rules or airport rules. You can have a drink at 9 a.m. And I know it's all in, fun and whatnot, to be humorous. But again, when as a society, our first joke and inkling to deal with something is to go to the bottle, you can kind of see that there's a very fine line between what we would call social and recreational to a problem, to dealing with our concern, anxieties, worries, fears about perhaps what's happening in a pandemic, and going towards numbing that, right? So in terms of the family, we have kind of a little idea of what maybe you can do if there's someone you're concerned about. What about, again, if you're not to the point where you were at with rock bottom, if someone was to come to you through your counseling or something and say, I'm just, I think I'm drinking a little too much, I don't like where it's going, what would you suggest? I know part of what you do is kind of finding them resources or something within their community. So if someone's maybe not all the way there, but they're enough that they're recognizing it and saying, I'm kind of not liking who I'm becoming, and I don't want to get there. I've listened to your story, Leo. I don't want to get there. So what can I do? Do you have any pointers for somebody to look at?
what's really important for me right now, and in this conversation to that question, is the ability to tell the truth. Because you know, and I know, and if you keep going that way, it's probably not going to end well for a lot of folks at that time. So all I can do when I share is I'm an example for you. Okay. I was in the hole for 4 decades, more, 44 years. I was in that hole, and I've been out for this last 9. It's possible. Sobriety, being substance free, enjoying life, being happy, being goofy. It's possible. It can be done. But I can't do that for you. Counselor can't do that for you. Your family can't do that for you. You gotta kind of figure out a way to do that yourself. Like the hole, like I'm not in that hole, but I can see my hole. Do you know what I mean?
Are there resources or steps? Like, would you tell them to go to AA, or would they tell them to, I mean, I guess that's kind of what I'm looking for, is like some action steps. So as people are listening to this, and, again, a lot of the people who listen to this show are, they're here for self-development. So they may not be if they are into the depths, then they're into the depths. It tends not to be what I know to be the audience I have now. So I think if anyone is hearing your story and perhaps questioning the end result of their potential path right now, I'd love to at least give them perhaps some direction or tools or tips, or resources that of, that so whether it's mental practices, or it's AA, or it's anything else that you can suggest. Hey, if you're seeing yourself here and you're catching it sooner before falling through a glass table, this is what I would say you could do, you know? So is it find a therapist or confide in someone? What would be that, the tips or action steps we could tell someone who might see themselves on this slippery slope?
It's a great question. Everyone has a lot of time right now.
Mm-hmm.
We've all got time right now. Public meetings are closed. Online meetings, you have to be careful because you don't know what's on the other side of the screen. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So if I was in a city, I'd call a couple of the recovery homes there and say, look, can I talk to someone? I think I have an issue. And I would get guidance from someone that can help me. I would start to watch, Intervention's a magnificent show because you can be in the room with the issue there and not be part of the drama, so you can listen. You know what I mean? It's valuable to do that. Al-Anon for family members, I think, is just a great idea. There's a lot of resources that would help out, but basic steps are to get to a meeting if you can, or talk to a professional if you can. And myself, because I don't want to say this the wrong way. Therapists are wonderful people, but if you haven't been on my journey, perhaps I've got something I can add to the conversation because I've been down that road.
Right. Right. So finding a counselor specifically within like substance abuse or dependency, something that who really gets it or can call you on your crap if they know you're, trying to pull a fast one, is probably your strongest point as opposed to just a general type of person for that help. So that would be seeking out, and that's a full as you're certified in that, so that is like its own niche profession, like specifically people who I've either been through it or studied it or something to work with others that are going through the same situation, right? Okay. Well, before my last question, Leo, is there, can you tell everyone where they can find you if they want to learn more, or, if I know you also work with businesses to come in and work with, if they have some issues with employees or staff, and also you do one-on-one as well, correct?
Yes. More for the businesses though. My problem with one-on-ones is, as you know, I'm a lot to take. I kind of get to it, and I'm trying to learn to be genteel. And my group leader, he's really I work in a recovery home right now, and he said to me, Leo, you got to meet them where they're at. Once you can meet them where they're at, that's going to make you better. So this is a journey for myself as well. I'm a one-man show. I am on LinkedIn. My email is there if you want to reach out to me. One of the things I want to say is I've got no agenda to hurt you or any of your viewers, right? I don't know you. Right. I don't know you, so I got no agenda to hurt you. If you, and it might not all be bad news. You might just be, just drinking a little bit too much, or you might not, and I don't know. I'm a resource. Everything's for a reason, as I've said. I keep going back to that, but that's the truth, Okay. I've got some things I can help with, and I'd love to help anybody that I can, and in any way that I can. By helping them, I help myself.
All right. So find you on LinkedIn. Is that the best place for everyone to find you?
Yes, unless you live in my very small town here in Windsor, Ontario. Okay.
So reach out to Leo on LinkedIn. Is there anything that you could, piece of advice before we go? So for this would be my last question for you. As we are in a world pandemic, we are finding ourselves in isolation. We are, you are seeing, we're seeing the news reports that liquor sales is definitely up. Weed sales is up. What, who knows what other substance use could be up. Is there any one either, whether it be piece of advice or tip or mantra or anything that you could give for somebody to perhaps use, do, or think or meditate on even this week if they find themselves struggling with with that trauma, or not trauma per se, but if they're in that isolation, and we already talked about how many different issues can come up with that, is there something that you give them that maybe to some piece of advice or tip to get through it, perhaps without the bottle and without turning to something else?
I think to help with this question, I'm going to switch my hats for a minute, and I'm going to put on my human resources hat for a minute, my HR hat for a minute, okay? Okay, listen, Miss Tanya, everybody here knows, and you've got this going on right now, okay? So we want you to go get help. We love you, and we want you to go get help, okay? Why don't you, this is me talking to you, why don't you take advantage of all these wonderful resources that are here right now? Mm-hmm. Why don't you take advantage of this? Your job will be here when you come back, because it is a disability, If you continue with it, you are going to be, it's called a constructive dismissal, and eventually it's not going to go well for you as far as this job goes. So why don't you take advantage of everything that you got here right now? Why don't you take advantage of asking some questions and calling a counselor to see what's going on before it gets really, really out of hand? Because if you don't, once you're able to tell yourself the truth that this is going to bottom out eventually, you can get ahead of that. So if you can get ahead of that, and it's doable. Mm-hmm. It's absolutely doable. Like I said before, look in my eyes, man. Sobriety's possible, and it's cool. Living in peace is cool. It's doable. You could do it. Mm-hmm. Don't have to stay in that hole. You can crawl out of that hole. You could do it. We'll help you get out of there, man.
So if somebody's finding themselves there, the best advice that we can give them is to reach out to someone, essentially, is what we're saying. Because again, most people who are finding themselves at home or isolated or in that situation, we are, they may not have anyone else around them, and it may just be in their own head, like, man, I need to do something. So the best piece of advice that we can give them, if they wanted to take action, they're finding themselves, they're listening to this and they're like, man, maybe I need to maybe this could be me, and I don't want to get there. It sounds like the best thing you're saying is that they need to be able to reach out to someone who can help them.
Perfect.
Okay. All right. Well, Leo, thank you so much for being here and sharing your story and giving us the tips that you have. I know, guys, this is a heavy topic, but it's something we all need to understand more, as the majority of the world is dealing with some version of it. So I hope you grab some gems from this talk. I hope that if you are finding yourself here, that you have the ability to find resources, or you can reach out to someone like Leo. As you mentioned, he's on LinkedIn. You can go check him out there, or look at your local resources of places I'm sure there's lots of, hotlines or different calling places. And maybe something like AA isn't an option right now in that as effective as it can be, but I think any version of perhaps reaching out to someone, and I know it sounds cliche, but it sounds like, as we've been hearing from Leo consistently, is that it's really about some connection with someone else, that there's a level of honesty happening, whether to yourself, but that someone else needs to be involved. Like, on your own is not the way to go about it. So if that's what you think, you're going to figure it out on yourself, by yourself, then I think that's what we're learning is not how it works. So take that action. Don't hesitate to reach out to Leo for additional information, tools, or support. This is what he does. So as always, you can connect with me at My Design Life Show and at Tanyamfk on Facebook and Instagram, and learn more about our courses, workshops, and coaching to design your best life at tanyamfk.com. So if you like this episode, make sure to subscribe and follow and be notified when our next one is up by clicking that button now. And remember, your someday starts today. Make it the best. I'm Tanyamfk, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us. You can catch us every week at 1 p.m. EST live on the My Design Life Show Facebook page and on YouTube at the Tanyamfk channel. See how the challenges go by following us on Facebook and Instagram at My Design Life Show and at Tanyamfk. Do you have a method, tip, or hack you'd like to share or explore? Submit to be a guest or suggest a topic by visiting mydesignlife.show.